podcast, and today I'm joined by Jeremy Firkenstein. Jeremy is the founder of Thrive Online. They help businesses attract and convert their ideal customers through branding, web design, and content creation. And he's also passionate about self-growth, breathwork, and cold therapy. So I can't wait to talk about that. Thanks for coming, Jeremy. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no worries. Happy to be here.
Yeah. And so you were saying you live out in the country now. Whereabouts do you live?
Oh, I live about 3 hours east of Toronto, a small little town called Prescott, Ontario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've been around there. I'm still in downtown Toronto, and obviously, as anybody who lives here knows, the housing crisis is so bad. So we keep looking for ways to escape the city, and I think it's becoming more and more attractive. So you beat the grind and you got out of the matrix. So well done.
Yeah, I grew up in Toronto. I used to live downtown Toronto as well. Moved out west with my wife, and eventually moved back. And when we moved back, we were kind of close to downtown Toronto, and we kept moving more and more north. And then a couple personal things happened in our lives, which it kind of encouraged us to move out here. My wife's parents were living here, and we just wanted a bit of a change, and we figured, why not just kind of go for it with COVID and everything and these lockdowns. And, there's lots of reasons kind of saying yes to why we should do this and not many reasons saying no. So
yeah,
we took a plunge, and so far so good. I actually really enjoy living out here. I'm surrounded by nature,
beautiful
forests, rivers, lots of things to do outside. So it's been quite nice so far.
Yeah, that's so nice. And just, as we talk about working from home and mental health, how this affects people, the ability to access nature and go for a walk around, natural landscapes is just such a huge lifeline for people. And those who can't access it, I think really, really suffer for that. So, yeah. And how would you sort of describe the way that you take care of yourself, given that you are close to nature? I imagine that's part of it, but what is your sort of way of taking care of yourself during this time?
That's a great question, because I don't think there's enough talk around that topic, especially in the mainstream media, how you can take care of yourself especially during a virus, and what you can do to kind of keep yourself healthy and boost your immune system. So for myself, I have a pretty strong morning routine. My wake up time varies. I have 2 little children, so I try to wake up a good hour before they get up, and they need to be looked after. And when I get up, it basically involves like breath work, meditation, and some form of exercise. I flip it. It goes from running a 5 to 7K in the morning to doing a 20-minute high intensity training workout, or just lifting weights and using some of the machines I have in my garage. But the point is it's just dedicating that time in the morning. That's the biggest thing I do. And then throughout the day and throughout my weeks, like you said, I'm a huge advocate for cold therapy. I do cold showers. I do frozen lakes, ice baths, that kind of stuff. And it's not just about also my physical health, also my mental health. I used to be part of a mastermind group, and that served me really well for a few years, and that kind of fizzled out. And now I'm part of a men's group that has served me really, really well, in the sense that it's a group of men that come together each week and talk about what's going on in their lives and how we can kind of support each other. And it's a place where you can really be free and vulnerable to speak your mind and speak about what's going on with you. And I think that's also, I'd say, especially as a man, like it's a big thing that can really serve you well. And I think a lot of times people overlook it. And just the ability of having strong conversations with people that will listen and give you solid feedback can really serve you well from a mental standpoint.
Right. And so how did you find something like that? I have a friend, Matt Zerker. I don't know if you're connected with him at all, but he runs something called Tether for Men, which is an app and a community space for men talking to other men, opening up and creating those kind of groups. Him starting this was kind of the first I ever heard about this kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, how did you find your men's group, and how did you make your way into it and find the value in it?
Yeah, so I'll give a bit of a plug here, I guess. Elemental Studio, which is, excuse me, it's out in, I guess it's in Vaughan. It's near Vaughan Mills, and you can go there and you can do a float. They do also do like workshops. So you can do like a breathwork workshop or a meditation workshop. And so I started going when I was living close to there. And he also integrated a what does he call it? Elemental immersion experience where there's a room and there's an ice bath and a sauna, and you can do that as well. So I started doing all these things. And I got really heavy into the breath work, and the men's group is run by Elemental.
Mm.
Um, so the owner Giovanni, he put this together. He's been running it for a couple of years, and I think it was, I can't remember now, maybe about five months ago or so that I joined. So it's open to anybody, and I think you can join on a monthly basis. And that's how I kind of got involved in it.
What do you think it is about a men's group that fills a gap between like a man's group of friends, or even like a therapist? Why does the men's group, like, why does it even need to exist? Why do you think men have a difficult time talking to their buddies about what's going on with them?
Yeah, I mean, another great question. I'm not sure I have the exact answer for it. I think everyone can answer that question differently. But I think when you get together with your friends, especially your male friends, it's not easy. It's not easy to talk about certain things that are going on with your life. It's not easy to be vulnerable. It's not also easy to show a little bit of weakness. I think as a man, sometimes we're so ego driven that we choose to kind of like show our strengths and not our weaknesses. And when you're with
Mm.
your buddies, sometimes and I can't say this for everyone because I don't know how everyone is with their group of friends and stuff. But from what I've seen, and even with some of my own friends, that was for sure the case. Now, over the years, I've definitely grown my group of friends, and some friends have gone, and I have new friends now. And I would say a lot of the friends that I do have in my life, I'm able to have those open conversations with. But I think that was designed by choice because those are the people that I connect the most with, and I
Right.
want to have around myself. So to answer your question about the men's group, again, I just feel like it's a couple of things. One, it's a safe place, right? It's a safe place where you're designed for you to be vulnerable, surrounded by people who are also expressing what's going on with them, their deepest, darkest secrets, whether they're in depression or maybe everything is going well. But you can connect with people that way when you listen to other people's stories and what's going on with them. It enables you to be a little bit more open. So I think that's a big one. And then also, um, just the idea of being in a group sometimes with people you don't know sometimes allows you to be a little bit more open about what's going on with you versus like when you meet up with a good friend that you've known for so long.
Right.
Sometimes you're a little bit more reserved and held back because again your ego comes in and you just want to put on this persona, right, or this mask, or this version of yourself that has to be strong and like everything is
Mm.
going well. Deep down, you're going through all this stuff.
Or you don't want to
And
like
what I
maybe sorry to cut you off, but I also think sometimes it's you just don't want to mess up the vibe. You're with your friends or a friend, and you just you feel like, oh, I don't want to bring them down with my problems. Let's just have a good time and talk about bullshit.
Yeah,
You
but
know.
that's where I think the problem actually lies, is
Mm.
because we need to be having those open and real conversations. And what I was going to say was that by keeping all that stuff suppressed inside of you, your childhood trauma, relationship trauma, work trauma, whatever that may be, and by not being able to express it and let it out, it just kind of stays within you, and it will come out in other ways,
Mm.
in anger, frustration, stress, and problems with other relationships in your life and stuff. So having a group, whether it's all men or man and female, it doesn't matter. Even if you're going to a therapist, it can also be really beneficial because you're having a place that's safe and that you can express yourself and let this stuff out. And I'm a huge advocate for vulnerability. I believe that as a man, being vulnerable is the most courageous thing you can do. This wasn't always me. Like growing up, it was the complete opposite. I was no different than most other men, where you can't talk about your feelings, your emotions, and being vulnerable and stuff because that's not what a man does. And what I've learned through the power of vulnerability is that vulnerability will actually set you free. And
Yeah.
the more you can express the stuff and let it out, the more you can kind of grow as a person, right? And also attract the right things in your life, whether it's people, whether it's your career, whatever that may be. But by putting out that positive energy and discussing about what's going wrong with you and what you want in your life, I just think that it's a really good kind of medium to kind of get what you want in your own life.
Yeah, because I think a lot of what holds us back is this fear that if we express what we're worried about or what we are scared of or what we think is not adequate about ourselves, that expressing that will get us social rejection, right? So if you say, I'm actually really not confident as a business owner, and you say, well, I can't say that because if I say that, then nobody's going to want to work with me. I won't get any clients. My peers are going to judge me and look down on me. My employees won't feel confident. But of course, usually the opposite thing happens, where as long as you do it in a sort of like managed way where you're not just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but like, if you have some kind of like controlled sense of going, okay, it's okay to share that I don't have all the answers and that I'm not feeling my best all the time. And to share that, and then also watch the reaction that you get from people and them going, oh man, that's amazing. That really resonated
Oh,
with me. And
right, and
you
even
get
even
some,
more so, is you're able to, by putting that out there. Okay, like your example, I'm not the best business owner, or I'm struggling with that. By putting that out there and talking to people about it, you can actually get advice and you can actually get support to help you
mm,
get to the place you want to be. And what usually happens, again, in my own experience, is it's not the problem isn't that you're not a good business owner. There's underlining emotional experiences that you have suppressed in your subconscious that ties into that as well. So by putting that out there, having the right conversations, it enables you to go deeper within yourself and to figure out what are those blocks that are blocking you. And one by one, you can remove those blocks, and it will not just allow you to be a better business owner, but a better person in general, and allow you to
yeah,
grow as a person. So, you said you had a conversation with Jan, and I'm sure he spoke a lot about connection and conversations, and there's so much power in that. And again, I think vulnerability will just set you free, and it gives you the option to really grow as a person.
yeah. And you also don't have to represent something that's fake. The more you can own your vulnerability, then you don't have to be like, you don't have to remember to say things. It's almost like lying a little bit. When you're lying, you have to remember what you said, right? That's the Mark Twain quote,
Yeah,
I think, like a man who tells
yeah,
the truth doesn't have to remember what he said. And when you're doing the same thing with your lack of vulnerability, and I remember this when I was a younger man around my friends, I was exhausted at the character I was playing, you know?
yeah. You nailed it. The character you're playing. That's a really good way of putting it. Lewis Howard wrote a book about this, and I forget the name of the book, but it had everything to do with masks and the masks that we wear
Mm,
in the different environments and the different groups of people that we're with. And normally there's about 600 masks that people normally have, and like you said, it becomes exhausting. So to
yeah.
be able to strip down those layers and remove those masks, and constantly just be showing up as yourself, I mean, yeah, you're spending less energy, and you're also enabling yourself just to be who you were meant to be. And I think there's a lot of power in that.
So this is an interesting segue into presenting yourself to the world as a business owner, because I have a really difficult time with this on social media, being myself,
Yes.
because it feels like I'm playing the same game as I used to when I was a younger man around my friends, but on a larger scale and with so many more opinions at stake. So when I put out content, I'm judging it of like, is this smart enough? Do I sound cool enough? Do I look good? Does my hair look okay? Do I sound annoying? Do I hate my voice? Yes, is this going to last? Am I talking out of my ass? Am I qualified to be talking about this? I have all these, self-doubts that are swirling around. So when you work with, you know, business owners with Thrive Online, so when you're talking about branding and content creation, how do you help address those blocks? Because I would imagine that's pretty fundamental to actually putting out good content creation, is getting rid of a lot of that self-doubt.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely, and even for myself, like as someone that does help like entrepreneurs and business owners with their branding, with their website, and some content creation and stuff like that. I also struggle with some of those things with putting content out for my own business.
Mm,
So I can definitely relate to what you're saying. But I think at the end of the day, the biggest lesson that I've learned and the biggest advice that I would give to people is just do it. Like honestly, just start experimenting, start putting out that content, and stop standing in your own way. I put a post actually about this a couple of days ago, and it literally says that, like, are you standing in your own way? Now, I was referencing more to people who try to build their own websites for their business themselves,
mm,
and then their business starts going well, and then they realize, like my website is not serving me. It's actually could be hurting my business. And as opposed to trying to do it yourself, bring in an expert. So that was the message behind my post. But when I created that post, it meant so much more to me, because sometimes I feel like I'm standing in my own way. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners fall in that kind of bracket. And same thing with what you're saying, like your mind is working a certain way, trying to tell you all these things not to do it, because if you don't do it, then you're staying in that comfortable zone,
Mm.
right? Like if you sit here and you just are just chilling on your couch, watching TV or working on some projects or whatever, and you're avoiding those things that are uncomfortable, like creating that video or putting out that content, it's comfortable for you. So your mind is trying to keep you in a comfortable state. But where the growth lies is in the uncomfortableness of putting out that content. So I
Yeah.
go back to that saying, just do it. Just actually, give yourself a couple of ideas, give yourself a plan, and just start executing on it. So what we do, and which I feel like we've been doing really well, is we help create like a plan, like a content creation plan for you. So like on a monthly basis, we'll make it easy for you because you'll have every day, you'll know what the topic is, what we're going to post. And in some cases, we actually create the content for you. But when you're working with clients, and especially on the content creation side of stuff, it's not just like, here, we're going to do all the work for you. They're involved. Like you have to be involved as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, because, for example, if you're going to create a video, we can't create that video for you. It's you that's going to have to be on there. So it's an interesting kind of experience, like when you're working with people that are trying to break through those blocks at the same time they want to grow their business. So again, it's all about, I think, just stepping out of your comfort zone and just taking that action and doing it.
Yeah, that's great advice. The analogy I often reference when I'm working with my clients on their public speaking and communication skills, which obviously a lot of them want to be able to be better on video and making
Yeah.
videos and stuff for content creation. And there's a great analogy by Ed Sheeran, which he just says for young songwriters, just open the tap. And think of it like a dirty faucet. When you first open it, it's just going to be like muddy, crappy water coming out. But if you keep the tap open, then
Yes.
eventually you get to the good, clean, clear water. And I was just talking to a musician friend of mine, and he's had a lot of people sort of start following his music, but it was because he put out this kind of indie record right away. Then when he started getting more attention, he had this piece of content that lived online. So when people heard about him, they had a place to go to consume more of his content.
Okay.
But before he put that
Yeah.
first thing out, they had nowhere to go. So he and I used to play shows together, and we go and do it live, and people would be like, "Where can we find you online?" And both of us were like, "Nowhere. We don't. Nothing exists. There's no content that you can continue to go and consume and spend time with us and kind of understand. Oh, do I like this artist? Do I not like this artist?" And it's the same thing for entrepreneurs. It's like, put those first couple videos out. Doesn't matter if they're low quality. It doesn't matter if they're not the most interesting thing you've ever said. That
Right.
is now a calling card and an anchor point for people to figure out
Right.
who you are.
But so even more so, like a bigger part of what we do at Thrive is more on the branding and the website creation, and having a really strong website, exactly with what you're saying, where you can funnel all of these people back to. So even when you put out a video, now you've got someone's attention. Like, what's the next step? Well, the
Yeah.
next step is they want to learn more about you, and having a place where you can funnel people back to, whether it's a landing page or a full website, I think can be a real big asset, obviously, in any business. And then there's like, okay, so when they're on your website, are you putting out the right content that's going to connect with your audience? And not just from your business standpoint, but with the problems that your customers are having. So when we create websites for people, we look at what the problems the customers are facing, and then how you, as a business owner, your product or service can kind of help alleviate those problems.
Right.
And through the content, through the visuals, through the user experience, we create something that is geared towards those customers. And I think I see this a lot of times, and like that goes back to my point that people are trying to create their own websites, or they try to create their own online presence, and then they realize that they're missing the mark a little bit, and they're not fully connecting with their audience.
Mm.
So going back to another one of your points, it's like, and I'm putting out a little bit of content about this today or tomorrow. It's about having a solid About Us page, like having a page on your website that talks all about you and how you can help your customers and the journey you've been on.
Mm.
You really open it. And this goes back to the whole thing about being vulnerable, not for yourself, but also for your business. Like, let people in, let people know the journey that you've been on that got you here, and why you're the right choice for them, and why they should
Yeah.
choose you over the competition,
Yeah.
right? So I look at all those personal, tools that I use to kind of keep myself healthy mentally, spiritually, and physically, and I try to tie it into my business, and also the customers and the clients that I work with and stuff, because I feel like it plays well into a brand as well. So there's a huge crossover effect.
And it also goes back to this thing about authenticity that we're talking about. Is like, if you tried to say, I'm a guy who doesn't really care, and I wake up at 10 every morning, but I still get it done. If you tried to, like, for whatever reason, portray a different character than who you actually are, then the customers you are finding, you're not being honest with them. And so once they start to work with you, they'll get a sense that that's not really who you are. But by putting out who you really are right away, then people can decide, do I like this guy? Do I fuck with him? Do I like his
Yes.
vibe and everything? And then they go, okay, cool, click. And if they don't, great, because you don't probably want to work with them anyways, right? Like, it's a good
Yeah,
filtration system for
that's a great
who
point.
your people are. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is a great point. Is like put out who you are and try to attract the people that align with you the most. If you're trying to appeal to everyone, or if you're trying to put on a fake persona, it may work for the short term, but long term, people are smart, especially nowadays with social media
Yeah.
and like the internet. Like people will find out pretty quickly, and you don't have to appeal to everyone. Like you have to appeal to the niche that you want to serve.
Yeah.
So when you're all more honest with yourself, I think it's going to benefit you, but it's also going to benefit the customers you want to work with.
Totally. Yeah. And then there's no sense of like disappointed expectations, right?
Yeah.
If you try to come across as like super slick and professional, but that's not how you run your business, then that will be at least a subconscious disappointment on the part of your customer. If they see this, like, if you spend $10,000 on this insane ad, and then they come to your website and it's like,
Yes.
yeah, some like
Yeah.
Squarespace slapdash thing.
No, you nailed it. And like especially nowadays, how they're all pushed so much more online. I mean, ask yourself, like if you're going to, you're trying to I'm trying to think of an example, but if you're trying to find a business that you want to work with for whatever reason, and you go to the three different competitors, and two of them are just slapped together, doesn't really talk about how you can help them, doesn't really talk about who they are, and it's just kind of all over the place. Then you go to this third one, and the first thing it says is like how they can help you, and how they can solve your problems. Right away, you've drawn them in, you've connected with them, and then as you scroll down the page, it just backs up that statement through testimonials, through the services you offer, right? Through examples of work, if it plays into that. And if it's just like a clean, simple user experience, you're more likely to get that customer than those other two competitors and stuff. And
Right.
I truly see it all all the time. And another really good point that I can make is when somebody, especially online, whether you're going to someone's social media or their website, YouTube channel, whatever that may be, if it's not clear and if it's not a simple experience, and somebody has to start using their brain too much, what tends to happen is you start having to use too much energy, and then you start getting frustrated. 9 times out of 10, that person is hitting the eject button and they're going to somebody else's website.
Yeah.
If you can draw someone in and it's so clear and simple, where it's almost like the person doesn't have to think, and through your messaging, you're guiding them through your website, you have the right call to actions, and there's a simple goal of the website, whether it's like book an appointment or buy this product, whatever it is, but you're keeping it so clear, so clear and concise that the person doesn't have to think, then you're winning. But
Yeah.
as soon as that person has to think too much and try to figure out, what does this guy do? Like, how can he help me? Am I in the right place? Like, you're automatically from a human like attribute, like you're gonna bail, like
Yeah.
you're gonna try to go somewhere else because you're not gonna want to expand that energy. So
Right. I tell people that all the time from a public speaking perspective. I talk a lot about evolutionary psychology and understanding like why we pay attention to what we pay attention to based on that evolutionary psychology is so important, because you just go, okay, if you're walking down the street and one person is talking over here and they're going, hi, it's nice to meet you, I'm really excited, and the other guy's going, hey, everyone, then obviously like one person is going to grab your attention because the noise that they make is a little more surprising and shocking. And then your evolutionary psychology goes, oh, that's maybe a threat or a surprise. But of course, you are drawn to that one. And likewise, if you use too much jargon and your sentences are too long and your ideas are too convoluted, people will just shut off, even if they don't, switch off your video, or even if they don't leave the webinar, they will shut off mentally and stop, because they're like, I don't want to do so much work.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
You know,
Yeah,
like yeah, I don't want to have to work here. And so, you know, what you're saying too is that like, well, this brings me to a really important question, I think. So many entrepreneurs, I think, struggle with having a good website. I see this all the time when I just, you know, look at my clients' websites just out of interest. Even though I don't help them with them, I go like, yeah, let me see what your messaging is like. And
yes.
the user experience is not good. And even if, like, you know, it looks professional, yeah, it's not clear what the journey is. It's not clear what they actually do. It's not clear what kind of value they really provide and why I need this. And so, what do you think are the must-haves for a website? Like anybody watching this, like, what do you need to have? So not make it too cluttered, but the essentials.
Yeah. So perfect timing actually with this question, because I just actually created an ebook based on that question.
Awesome.
Um, so just bear with me for one sec here, because what I'm
Sure.
going to do is I'm just going to reference it. And basically, the ebook is on my website, thriveonline.biz. And
Yeah,
you can,
we'll put the links to it in
yeah,
the description of this video below. And sorry, and that website again is
it's thriveonline.biz.
thriveonline.biz. Okay, yeah, and we'll link it as well.
Okay. Um,
Yeah, that's amazing that you just put out this ebook. I guess you're
yeah.
very well aware of your customers' main problems, eh?
Yeah. So what I did is at the beginning of the year, I was kind of looking at all the projects because I needed to revamp my own website, and I realized I haven't put up any new projects into the portfolio for a while. And what it gave me the opportunity is to go through project by project. There was about 7 or 8 projects, and when I work with clients, I always start with a discovery process. It's about 3 or 4 interviews before I even deliver a proposal. And through that discovery process, it always starts with understanding what the goals are, but also
Mm,
what the problems are that this business is facing. And when I went back and reviewed each project, each one had some of them had overlapping problems, but there was a unique problem that each of them were having. So I took the problems, the more consistent ones, and it helped me kind of identify like what are the common problems that these entrepreneurs and these business owners are facing and stuff.
mm,
And I was like, okay, well, then I looked at the projects and how we executed them, and what were the similarities onto like how I was actually helping these clients. And so I'll give you a few of them. The ebook contained 5 effective ways to basically help boost your website conversions. And the first one is understanding your customers' problems. Now, I even say this in the ebook is that it's not unknown. Like obviously you have a business, you've got to know who your customers are, right? But what we do is we take it a step further, and I always say, well, how well do you know your customers, though? How deep are you going? What are the
mm.
questions that you're asking? And by really identifying what your customers' problems are, that can really give you the opportunity to connect with them through your messaging, through the user experience, the design, and also the visuals, the images that you are using. So once you know that your customers are having these 1, 2, 3, whatever, how many problems that they're having, it should literally like those problems should be on your website, whether
Mm.
it's direct message or it's kind of through a solution or something. But when someone's reading the content on your website, those problems need to be integrated in there, because then what goes on in their head, a little light bulb goes off, and it's like, huh, this guy really is in my head. Like he knows the problems that I'm facing. I'm
Yeah.
in the right place. Now I can move forward. So the first one, yeah, understanding what your customers' problems are. The second one is using clear messaging, which we've already kind of talked about. And it sounds like you do a little bit of that also in your own work.
Hmm.
But having clear messaging and not trying to make it fancy and not trying to make it too wordy and not trying to make it too lengthy. Keep it simple, keep it sweet, just like clear. Tell people what it is that you
Yeah,
do.
I usually say like sixth to eighth grade speaking level. Like that's what they did
Yes,
studies with politicians, and they found the most effective politicians speak at about a sixth to eighth grade
yeah,
reading level. So,
yes,
instead of saying like sophisticated software solutions, just say we make your computers run faster, and like it seems like that's not cool enough
yes.
or professional enough, but that's what's going to sink in.
Yeah, well, exactly, and that's what's going to connect with them. So the next one is just having a clear call to action, right? So, and I see this a lot, is that people will overwhelm the user with too many call to actions. So, um, you know, there could be like a header on your website or at the top where your menu is and stuff. And I've seen it. People have like two different buttons, right? Trying to point someone in two different directions. And
Hmm.
it's confusing. It's like, well, which one do you want me to do? What do you want
Yeah.
me to do here? You scroll down the page and there's all these call to actions. Now, I'm not saying you can't have, different call to actions, but there should be one primary call to action for the website. My website, the main call to action right now is book a call. My
Yeah.
goal for the website is simply to get people to book a call with me. 9 times out of 10, well, unless you're selling like a product on your website where
Yeah.
you can make that sale right then and there. But if it's a service-based business and stuff, you're not going to close the deal through your website. Your
Yeah.
website is just a stepping stone in that customer journey. So
Yeah.
what's the goal of the website? And that call to action should reflect that. If you do have other call to actions, like, you want to send people to your about page or your services page, that's all fine. But from those pages, it should take people back to that main call to action, and you
Yeah.
shouldn't overwhelm people with too many options.
Right.
The next one is basically tell your story visually. So this is a big one, and it may sound obvious or whatnot, but you know, you can go to millions of not millions, go to hundreds of websites, and I see it again and again with older websites where they're using images, but they have no no connection with the business
Right.
or the customer and stuff. So it's like you're on your website, they find this really beautiful sunset or this really cool nature shot or something like that, and it looks great and maybe it looks wonderful on the website, but you're missing a big opportunity.
They're selling car engines or something, and it just
They're
doesn't.
selling car engines,
It
or,
doesn't relate.
or you're selling coaching services or something like
Right.
that. There's a missed opportunity there because, like, again, we're human beings, we're very visual creatures. So when you come to the website, as opposed to having that shot, you could have you with the client, and the client has this look of relief and they're happy, right? Or I worked with a sports supplement company, and we made sure that on the website we were showing people in the age demographic that his target audience was. So his target audience, let's say, is like 25 to 35. So we wanted people on there, male, female, at 25 to 35, doing really, really active type activities, right? And pushing themselves. And also were happy. They had a big smile on their face. So when people come to the site, they can connect with that and be like, oh, I know that's me. Or I want to be like that. I want to push myself hard and sweat and have this really look great, like look of happiness on my face. So again, use images to visually tell your story and to connect with your audience.
And sorry to cut you off, but just to add to that point, I think probably a lot of that is also subconscious, right? Like the user may not be going, oh wow, that person is 18 and I am 18, therefore I like this website. But in their mind, subconsciously, they are
Yes.
connecting with the
Yeah.
images. So it's almost that frustrating thing where it's like if you do a really good job with the website, you're almost like it's the best website if people aren't really remarking on a lot of it, right? If it's just so
Well,
smooth
yeah.
that yeah.
But that's my whole point, is that if you do a really good job, then the user feels comfortable where they're at. They feel like they're in the right place. And that's your ultimate goal right off the bat, is to connect with them and be like, okay, I've identified with my users' problems and now they feel like they're in the right place. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, I always try to push my clients to put people in the shots. And sometimes that's difficult. Sometimes, there's no budget for a photo shoot, and you don't necessarily want to use stock images and stuff. So it doesn't always work. But if you're selling a product, another example I can give you is I worked with a chocolatier. I'll give her a shout out, Chocolate the Cat. And she makes these little bonbons, and they're incredible. They're like designed really well. They taste amazing and stuff. And there was a perfect example where we didn't put people in the shot. We just used her products.
Right.
And she had really, really good photography of these products and stuff. And that alone was enough to connect with her audience, because the people that were coming to her site was looking for this as a gift or for themselves, whatever it be. But by seeing the chocolate and having these amazing photography of them, they were able to, like, their mouth was starting to water.
Yeah, right.
Want chocolate, so you're enticing them. She could have easily just just done like no photography, no photos, or low budget photos, or just other types of images in general, where it had nothing to do with the chocolates itself or the products she was selling. So it doesn't always necessarily have to be specifically like something with people expressing themselves in it. It's just, it depends on the business, and it depends on how you want to connect. But don't overlook. The point is not to overlook the power of the visuals and the imagery of the websites.
Right. That's really interesting. And yeah, I know a lot of my audience are service-based entrepreneurs or tech entrepreneurs. So just showing
Yeah.
the
So
product itself is not always possible.
yeah, and you definitely see that a lot. Like if you're talking tech, you know, like a company like how I was just on their website, Trello is one of them. And if it's like a product-based business, a
Hmm.
lot of times they'll show pictures of the product, and they'll show diagrams of the product, and they'll show like, um, and again, it's really circumstantial, like depending on the nature of your business and stuff. And sometimes that works for the product. But at the same time, if you look at these companies, especially the bigger ones, I think it was maybe it was Skype that I was on. They still use images of people like interacting, showing
Yeah.
communication,
Right.
and they had a certain. They weren't sad or angry. They weren't like smiling and overjoyed, but they were kind of happy and they were expressing themselves a certain way. So again, it's circumstantial to the business that you're in, but it's just something that you shouldn't overlook. Um, anyway, and then the last one is just lead generation. Making sure that it's just easy for people to connect with you, and making sure it's easy for people to give you a lead. So, and again, maybe it sounds simple, but a lot of people miss this mark. So when you go to somebody's website, especially if it's an entrepreneur or like a personal brand, and that's something I didn't talk a lot about. If you are trying to sell yourself and you're trying to develop a personal brand for yourself,
Mm.
you're definitely going to want to have images of yourself on the website,
Yeah.
to really kind of showcase yourself and personality. But with the lead generation, it should be easy for someone to one get more value out of you. So if they like what you do and they like what you're offering, and the only option for them to take the next step is like you go to the contact page, has your email and phone number. You're missing a huge opportunity to capture a lead.
Right.
You should have someone on your site either sign up for my newsletter or offer them some more value, offer them an ebook, offer them a free a mini video training course, offer them
Yeah.
something for free where they can enter in their name, enter in their email, and one, it gives them more value, and two, then you've now extracted a lead from them.
Yeah.
And like the point of that is make it easy, like put it like on your homepage. Like, once you've sold them on yourself and you've connected with them, give people an opportunity to want to connect with you further. And the other recommendation that I would always give is, you can, if you don't want to have the ebook or some kind of lead magnet like that, then make sure you have a contact form. Like, don't ask people to click on a link, go to their own email platform, type in the email and send it through Gmail or whatever. Just make it simple. Like
Yeah.
have a little box that you can put in your name, your email, and a message and hit send. Furthermore, you could have a button that says book a free consultation, right? Someone can click on that, book an appointment. Again, it's circumstantial, it depends on your business. My point is make it easy, make it
Yeah.
simple for people to do that, and don't make people have to work to kind of connect with you.
That's one of those, just a little thing, and this is a plug. I'm not affiliated with this company in any way, but Calendly is an amazing
Yeah,
tool. Yeah, and like
yeah,
to me, that boosted my number of leads that I got because I could just put it
perfect.
on the website, but also every time I email a potential lead or talk to someone on LinkedIn or whatever, I just go, hey, here's my Calendly. Feel free to put in a time that works for you, and that like the number of times that people do that and just automatically it's huge rather than going back and forth like, hey, when are you free, blah blah blah. So taking out steps that it takes
Yes,
to actually do something seems to be a huge part of it, whatever can be done to like
yes,
reduce the number of actions.
yes. That's actually in the ebook as well, as reducing the number of steps. It shouldn't take more like 2 or 3 steps to get to a certain goal or certain action of your website. Anything above that is you're doing something wrong. Because like at
Right.
the end of the day, like I said this before, your website is not the end of the customer's journey. Now it's different if you're selling a product, you're in an e-commerce store, that's your goal. You want to get people to the site and sell products. But if you have a service-based business or you're a personal brand or a coach or whatever that may be, the website is just there to kind of help sell yourself, to kind of help connect with your audience, and to kind of help build trust and prove yourself as an expert to whoever that person may be. And
Right.
this goes back to our conversation before, but you're asking about social media, putting out content, and all this stuff. It's all designed to prove that you're an expert and to build trust with your audience.
Right.
Because like nowadays, especially, people aren't going to be jumping into bed with you so fast. Like they want to get to know you, they want to know they can trust you, and they want to know that you have something that you can bring to the table.
Yeah.
Right? If you're doing all these things correctly, it's going to be more likely for you to, again, attract the right audience and also convert those people.
Yeah. So that brings us to sort of the content creation piece. Like for me, I always say video is the best. Like just make videos because well, first of all, from the videos, you can chop those up and you can make them into different pieces of content. You can take a screenshot, you can take a clip, you can take a transcript and make that a blog post. But the more video you have out there, it should be good video, and you should be speaking well in it and making a compelling case, but just put that video out there, and then it shows people who you are and what you talk about. And since I've started putting out video content about like a year and a half ago, it's just the amount of leads and growth my business has seen is just like
Well, amazing.
astronomical. Yeah. And so when I imagine that's probably the main thing you focus on. Again, we're talking about service-based businesses, coaches and stuff, people who don't necessarily have like cupcakes that they're selling, so they just put photos on Instagram. But um, how do you recommend to, let's say, this group we're talking about, entrepreneurs, service entrepreneurs, coaches, what kind of stuff do you say they should be talking about or doing, and what kind of videos do you think are important to be putting out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't solely like work with like coaches. I don't actually think I've ever actually worked with a coach before.
Right.
I do work with like service-based businesses. It definitely ranges from our clients. So it's not all the time that they're just putting out videos. Videos are tricky. If you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, you definitely want to be putting out videos, and you definitely want to be talking about what makes you an expert. Like if you're making all these claims on your website, or when you're even speaking to someone face to face, like the videos give you an opportunity to back that up, and explain to, put out that content to prove you're an expert. But I don't think it necessarily just has to be video. I
Right.
think just focusing on video can pigeonhole yourself a little bit, just because like it is a bit time consuming. And I'm not saying like you shouldn't be putting out video. I'm a huge advocate for it, but I think you can also intertwine, like if we're talking social media, like post testimonials, post insights, that it is reflective to your customers and your audience. Talk about the problems that they're going through and how you kind of alleviate them. And there's different ways of doing this. Video is obviously one of them, but I think that in my experience, especially, we've been trying to do more and more content creation for clients, is like the client is usually all gung ho about it. They're excited, they're happy about it. But like I said before, they also have to be part of it.
Yeah.
We can just take it over for them. And if you're running your business and you're busy, they don't necessarily realize how much time actually has to go into producing this content.
Yeah.
And that's why I go back to like, okay, well, what are the other things that you can do besides just video? And what are the things, like if you are going to hire someone like a company like ours, is like, what are the things that we can do that we don't necessarily need need so much so much effort from you guys. Like where can we kind of take over and kind of just deploy the content for you? So I'm not sure if I actually answered your question, but
so I just wanted to know, what would those type of contents be, and what from your position as the content manager, like what do you find converts the best? What sort of content? I imagine it's specific to people's businesses, but like what
yes,
kind of posts tend to
no,
get
I get
people's
it.
attention? Yeah.
It's a great question, because for what I'm seeing every single time is when you post something with yourself in it or there's a person in it, um, those are 100% like the content that converts the most.
Hmm.
Whether it's a video or just even a picture, and it's a picture, but the caption that you wrote is, again, going back to being vulnerable, and you're being honest and open, and you're just kind of like letting people kind of going letting people know what's going on, like with you and your business and stuff. Those are the
Right.
ones that convert the most, versus just like when you put something out there that's more just about your product or service.
Yeah.
It always has that personal touch, and it always, again, it goes back to building credibility, building trust with your audience, forming a connection with them. And then when they
Yeah.
get to seeing you, the person behind this business, they're going to be more, well, either they're going to connect with you or they're not, but if they do, they're going to be um, more geared towards like wanting to work with you.
Yeah. I always say that too, when you're pitching yourself, or when you're speaking on a webinar, you're giving an investor pitch or a sales pitch, or talking to somebody that you want to convince of your your vision, your business, and to be part of it, in whatever capacity that is. I always say, just, a quick hack you can do is just smile more, raise your eyebrows more, bump up your, what I call speech settings, like your volume, your pitch, and raise your eyebrows, engage your hands. These are just signals that show that we associate with likability. And if you're just a little more warm and a little more enthusiastic, that tends to make you more likable. And people just do business, just like they do everything, with those who they like. So,
Yeah, I
it
agree with
just,
that.
yeah, the more real you are, but also, yeah. And my customers get stuck on going, well, I don't talk like that in real life. In real life, I'm like, hey, what's up? That's how I talk with my friends.
Yeah,
And you're like, okay, great. But there's, there are moments where you probably don't talk like that, when you're super excited about something and you're really passionate and you're really fired up. So find that version of yourself and come forward with that, because that's who we want to
yeah.
we
So
want to
I
be
think
around.
I think the challenge with that becomes, though, like it's hard to sometimes just turn that on when you want to go create a video. When you're finding yourself in that place where you're excited about something, it's because something just happened, right? So you become excited, and when you speak about it, then you express yourself differently. But when you're just going to create a video, and all of a sudden you got to turn that on and start speaking that, like I understand like that example, because it doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't
Hmm.
feel like yourself. But at the same time, if you put out a video where you're like monotone, like you were kind of describing stuff, that's not going to work either. So you
Yeah.
really just gotta find the happy balance and stuff. And like at the end of the day, I think just being yourself, and being genuine, and just experimenting. Like at first, just like anything else, it's going to be difficult, But over time, and the more you do video or the more you put out content, it's going to get better. It's going to get better, and you'll find your groove. And
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like I'm good at kind of coaching and helping my clients kind of do this, and I need to take my own advice,
Yeah.
because even for myself, like I'm not like I'm a design guy. I'm a creative person. Like I'm good with discovery and strategy and all these things. But when I have to go put myself on camera, I get nervous, and like same thoughts you're saying. Is this good enough? Are people going to resonate with it?
Yeah.
And then, but what I realized is the best way to get feedback is actually just to do it and put it out there.
Yeah.
And then maybe you won't get 100 likes or 200 likes, right? Maybe you'll get 5 or 6 or 10 or maybe a couple comments. But those couple likes or those comments can really be the motivation you need to do the next video
Yeah.
and the next video. So I think it's all about just kind of like stepping out of your comfort zone, taking action, and really just kind of putting yourself out there
Yeah.
and believing in yourself. Like you're doing this business for a reason. If you're saying you're an expert and you want to get these clients, there should be something that you can pull out of to like produce great content that kind of backs that up.
Yeah. And I think also it's just believing in the process, like believing that this is really worthwhile. And it's such, content marketing is like this free, amazing thing where you can access people without even having to pay a dollar, just with some time investment on your own end. And if you
Yeah,
can figure out a good way to do that, and then, make sure that the landing page is good, and make sure that, everything is telling the same story, the return on that investment will be huge. And if you really just believe in that, then I think it'll also give you that motivation. So it seems like we've kind of come full circle, and it's just like, just
yeah.
do it, put it out there.
That's what I was telling you earlier. It's like all like you asked me how I take care of myself and do all that stuff. Like I said, to me, it's all relatable to a business and a brand. The way I try to look at a brand is just like a person. It has a voice, it has emotions, it has feelings. It's trying to be perceived a certain way, right? It wants people to like them. And when you look at a brand like a person, when you look at it that way, it's no different than how do you take care of that brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, how do you take care of yourself? Well, it's how do you grow as a person? Trying new things, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, right? Trying to
Right.
find your tribe, the right people that you kind of vibe with and stuff. So a brand is ever evolving. Like it's not like look at any major brand like McDonald's or Nike and companies like that, and go back to their history and all the things that they've tried and failed and succeeded at. Look at Apple.
Yeah.
Apple at one point was selling over, I think, don't quote me on this, but over 300 products, let's say, like crazy amount of products. In comes Steve Jobs. So he left, right? And then when he came back, he minimized all those products to under 10, right? So it's an ever evolving, growing thing, is a brand and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I think the biggest challenge, and like you've already been saying, is just it's that first step of like putting yourself out there and that uncomfortableness and stuff, because a lot of these guys, like, and you probably can attest to this, they're working on their business and they're really good at something,
Yeah.
right? And they're not like, it's not their job to build a website, to put themselves on social media, to do all this stuff. And it's almost like you're being forced to do this stuff.
Yeah,
Like having
totally.
a website is one thing, but the social media stuff, especially, I'm not, I would say like older generations too, who aren't a computer savvy and aren't a social media savvy versus like the younger generation who
Totally. Yeah.
obviously, yeah. So it's more challenging for them, and they're like, man, I don't want to have to do this. And if you're not at the position where you can hire a team and you can bring in a videographer and someone to take care of that for you, then yeah, I could definitely get a little struggle, a little bit of frustration. But
Yeah.
this is the nature of the game these days. If you're not online and you're not doing social media, guaranteed one your competitors are, and if they're doing a better job, you're losing customers to them.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
And, just exactly. It's not going away. It's only getting more important. So just, if you haven't started, start now. And then just think in a year, you'll be so glad you started now, rather than like, waking up a year from now being like, damn it, I wish I had more of a digital brand or an online brand. Start now, right away. Just put out whatever videos, go on Zoom, hit record, just like you and I are doing now, talk into the camera for a bit, and then, convert it at the end of the meeting. Then you've got a video file, so it's
yeah, and an audio file.
and an audio file, and then you can transcribe that and have a blog post. I mean, that's 3 pieces of content just by getting on Zoom. So
Yeah, I love
just,
that.
yeah, I would say, just like to anybody, who's worried or doesn't like it or doesn't think it's important, just start now. And I can guarantee that good things will come from it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for doing this, Jeremy. It was really, really awesome talking to you. I'm going to direct everybody to your website, thriveonline.biz, and people can get that ebook. And yeah, really, really exciting stuff that you're talking about, and just ways of making things simpler and getting better lead generation. It's something I'm going to take some of these tips myself, because God knows my website needs it. But yeah, thanks for doing this, man. And
No problem.
it seems like you're doing awesome stuff. I feel like we could have gone into so many other things, but maybe
Yeah, I felt that.
maybe we can do a part 2.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, be well and enjoy the nature out there.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.